My husband cheated on me with my best friend. Update on Jess. If you are triggered by any mentions of death and drug use, you should probably skip this update. I will be making an entirely different post for the life updates so you won't miss anything. Please take care of your mental health first and foremost. Hey guys, I have some news that I'm not entirely sure on how to say, so I'm just going to say it. Jess was found deceased in her apartment from a drug overdose at the end of July. To say that it was a shock would be an understatement of the century. Jess was the kind of girl who never touched a drug in her life. Even back in the day, when I would partake in smoking weed from time to time, she would pick a fight with me about it. A part of me is devastated. She was my best friend, and we went through so much together. We had so much history. She wrote me a letter. I'm not going to go into every single detail about it, but I will highlight one main part of it. She told me that she saw that I was trapped in an unhappy and loveless marriage, and she wanted to help me get out of it. She didn't know what to do. So one night when she started doing drugs, she decided to get rid of Tyler the only way she knew how. It was by sleeping with him. From there things spiraled and she fell in love with him. And she became jealous because he would fill her head with pretty white lies and then go home to me. While I don't forgive her for what she did to me, I get it. I really do. Jake has been blaming himself of sorts. Yes, he was pissed at her, but he didn't want her dead. None of us did. He's been having a hard time with things, but in true Jake fashion, that he's been shoving his grief to the side to be there for everyone else. He stayed with his parents the first month after everything that happened to take care of them, and then would come check on me at twice a day. He still won't really talk about it, so I tried to be there for him in every way possible without the use of words. Angie isn't doing well. She lost a child, and even though she had cut her off, she is still her daughter and she still loves her. I have been stopping by their house once a day to check up on her and bring her meals to ensure that everyone is eating. Jake's dad, well, he's been handling it much better than I thought. Jess was always closer to him, but then he told me,
maybe I am a heartless bastard, but once I saw the woman that she was becoming, I stopped thinking of her as my daughter. I already grieved the loss of my daughter a long time ago.
So there's that. Just to put it out there, nobody is blaming me. They made the choice to cut Jess out of their life of their own free will, and I made it clear to them when all of this first came out that I wouldn't blame them if they wanted to keep their relationship with their daughter or sister. Angie even made it a point to tell me that it is not my fault, and we hugged and cried together. We are not sure if she did it on purpose or if she had letters for everyone as a backup in case that she happened to overdose. But the letters were not out in the open by her body. They were all tucked away in a drawer. To end this update, I just want to make it clear that though I had a lot of hate in my heart for Jess, there was also a lot of love there too. She hurt me and betrayed me, but had she not done that, I would still be stuck married to a man that I felt indifference towards and would not be as happy as I am. She did it in a fucked up way, but in a sense she did free me from my shackles. I will always love her, and this loss is one that will stay with me for the rest of my life. Replies to some comments. Angie and her husband are in grief counseling, but it's not something that Jake is interested in doing. I did try to push him on it, but he said that he'd rather deal with the loss in his own way. I have been respecting that choice, but I do bring it up to him from time to time to ensure that no one will think any less of him if he needs help processing. I did manage to get him to attend one of my therapy sessions with me about the grief, and he did get some things off his chest, but he'd rather handle his grief quietly, so I have not been too overbearing about it. Personally, I don't think that Jess started doing drugs until after the affair was discovered. I think that's what triggered her into finding this new escape. I like to believe that I would have noticed something that big, but I was also wrapped in grief over losing my only remaining parent. That maybe I did miss some signs, but I know without a doubt that I would have noticed if she was high around me though. So if it was pre-discovery, she didn't do them around me, or would have hang out with me if she was high on drugs. I just believed that she was just really trying to help me by sleeping with my husband. I don't think that's what was running through her head when she started the affair though. I think that it is the story that she came up with to help her cope. If Tyler knows about Jess' death, he didn't say anything to me about it. I also didn't reach out to him and freely offer the information. I really hate to say this, but her obsession with Tyler ran much deeper than I initially realized. I thought that it was just a fling, but after going through her apartment and helping Angie and Jay clear it out, I realized that what she felt for him was really walking the line of obsession. There's a part of me that feels like this was her cry to him, to see if he would run back to her and rescue her from herself. Had Jess always wanted what I had, always been jealous of me or my life? I think that's pretty close, and this is me making an educational guess because Only Jess truly knows, but I like to think I know her well enough to answer this. Had Jess and I fallen out any other way, her parents wouldn't have cut me off unless I did to her what she did to me. They would have distanced from me and helped Jess through it. This is the first time they made this decision. We've had our fair share of arguments, and her parents would take her side, even if she was wrong. Jess was very, very close to her dad, and while he was like a dad to me as well, we didn't really have that father-daughter bond. Angie always looked after me because my mom was her best friend, and she did the mother-daughter things with me since I lost mine so young, but she did more with her own daughter than me, which I never felt ill towards. Jess and Angie were also close, and Angie always made sure that Jess never felt unloved or left out, and Jess even mad comments over the years that she was glad that her mom stepped in for me, but never overstepped. They had countless talks about it to the point that Jess would come to me and joke about it, saying,
Mom is having one of her moments where she wants to make sure that I'm not jealous or upset that she did this and this with you. LOL.
Jess and Jake were never close growing up, more so because all of Jess's friends used her to get closer to Jake, though I'm the first friend of Jess's that Jake actually made a move on. He would ignore the friends and Jess would blame him for it. I'm going to try to word this as gently as possible without trying to sound like a complete a-hole. Jess was always boy crazy, the girl who was constantly vying for a man's attention. Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There is something wrong in how Jess went about it. She saw men as a way to prove her worth. However, teenage boys and even men can be pretty shallow, and the men Jess typically went after were pretty shallow. Jess was always bigger. I wouldn't say she was full out fat, but she had a belly and hips, and I didn't stay over 100 pounds until I had my first child. And even then I was still skinny, so of course, these shallow-ass men, when they saw her and I together, they would divert their attention to me instead of her. I of course always ignored them, but I think that had set a deep-rooted insecurity in her. That she was always second best to me when it came to men. I never saw it that way, and I never went after the men she liked. I married Tyler, and shortly after I married Tyler, just got married to the guy I had a crush on in high school. I, truthfully, didn't care because it was an innocent crush and I never acted on it. But the guy was an ass, and in his wedding speech made a comment about how he got second best to what he really wanted, and everyone hated the guy. All of us begged her to not marry him once he showed his true colors long before that wedding speech, but she saw it as me being jealous, and we actually stopped talking for a while because of it. So I think getting my husband to sleep with her was her way of proving that she wasn't second best. Only when my husband didn't pursue a relationship with her like she hoped, she became obsessed with the idea of him and trying to prove she was the better lover. I don't know what the end goal was, truthfully, but I just hope that she's at peace now. I don't believe that Tyler's parents had seen his other children. They would if Tyler allowed it, and the only way Tyler would allow it is if they severed all contact with me. And they have made it abundantly clear that they won't do that since Tyler won't step up and be a dad to the children that he already has. To be really honest with you, I'm not even sure if she's had the baby yet. It's quite possible that she is still pregnant. I'm basically in the dark on all things concerning him. They both have myself, Jake, Angie, and Bob, and his parents blocked on everything, any form of social media, phone numbers, everything ... If he wants to pretend that our kids do not exist, then I'm not going to remind him that they do. They deserve better. I actually already filed an abandonment charges against him. The way my lawyer explained this to me, forgive me if I butcher the explanation, but this is how I have interpreted it, is that essentially filing on abandonment charges doesn't really mean much in my state, just that he would have to take me to court if he ever decided to see his kids again. However, if I were to get married and my spouse wanted to adopt the children, having that abandonment case against him would help immensely in my favor if he ever decided he wanted to fight the adoption. So I have filed it as a just in case scenario, like if my kids ever decided that they wanted to be adopted by Jake. However, that conversation won't be happening for a while until I am sure that they fully understand what being adopted by Jake truly means in their life. Life updates. Hey guys, I know that the last post was heavy, so if you need someone to talk to, please feel free to reach out. I understand stuff like that leaves its mark. Here's to a more cheerful update. Tyler is still missing in action from our kid's life. Still hasn't reached out, and I'm not chasing after him to be involved with the kids. They deserve more from their dad. The kids are doing just wonderful. They've really taken to Jake. Even the baby calls him Dada. And once he and I had a long talk about it, I've decided that if the kids want to call him Dad, then I won't intervene. My oldest made that transition from Uncle Jake to Dad. My middle child still calls him Uncle Jake, but that's completely fine with me. How they want to pursue that relationship, I will let them. Jake actually started coaching their indoor soccer league, and they love having him there. The house just has a sense of peace now, and all of them are just so happy that it makes my heart so full. I did have a conversation with them about Aunt Jess being in heaven with Papa, and they took it well, probably because they've hardly seen her in the last year. Tyler's parents have still been just as involved and are actually really close to Jake's parents. They've all been so wonderful that sometimes I feel like I'm dreaming. Angie and Bob have retreated a little from the kids' life to deal with their grief, which I completely understand. They do still see the kids at least once a week, and Angie mentioned that it helps her spending time with them. Roughly 2 weeks after Jess passed away, Jake asked me to marry him. I told him that I wasn't saying no, but I wanted him to sit with this a little longer and make sure that this was something that he actually wanted and that he wasn't making a hasty decision. In the midst of grief, a month later after the dust had started to settle and things were slowly falling back into our routines, he asked me again. He had this whole speech about how he's wanted this for as long as he could remember, and even mentioned how when we were kids he said that he would marry me when we grew up. It's true he did say that to me when I was like 5 LOL. So I said yes, we are having a long engagement, as I don't want to jump right back into a marriage, so we're taking our time and haven't even started wedding planning yet. Maybe come next year, we'll start the plans. To be totally honest though, we've just been debating on eloping something small with just his parents and the kids. Who knows though, we have time to figure it out. Life has been a whirlwind full of ups and downs, but I'm so lucky to have so many wonderful people who love me and my kids. As always, thank you for being here with me throughout this journey. I love you guys. Until next time.